shouldn't be able to stay awake. So she's sleeping for now.
I can dig it. All right, so I'm just gonna pop this deck list on here. I've never seen it before. You just tell me where to start, and I am gonna hover over the cards. Holy shit!
It's a thick deck, I tell you what. The ratios aren't that bad, though.
We went from 50 minimum to almost 30 over.
Yeah, I mean, the ratios are still 30, like the 33% attacks, right? Mm-hmm. But like, there's a world where you can run like 20. I think you can't run less than 22 attacks in Todoroki though. And so there's a world where you cut it down to like 22 attacks and cut some foundations down right and get it down to like 60, like 67 or so. Mm-hmm. But there's just so many good chaos attacks.
There's so many good cards in this
deck. There's so many good chaos attacks. I just don't know where to cut them, so...
I'll be honest, normally when I see a deck list, I'm a hard person to please, right? One of the things I got kind of nervous about after I put out the call to action is I realized a lot of people might not know me personally well enough to know that I'm super picky. I'm very judgmental, and normally when I look at a deck list, I immediately see a card I would just delete from the list. And on this list, not so. Okay, well, there's one, actually. I found one, but we'll talk about it later. I did find the one card, but I'll let you try to convince me, because this is a Shark Tank pitch style kind of a thing.
Alright, so tell me, alright, so I get 3 guesses on what it is, right? And why is it Spirited Referee?
Okay, we've got 2 cards, but you let's go over the deck list. I'll talk about it later. I'll let you you tell me why they're here, right? I don't know if you want to go card by card. You know, a lot of people are maybe familiar with like how Todoroki 1 plays, but let's start with the character, I guess, and then I'll let you kind of direct it from there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure everyone here knows what Todoroki 1 does, right? 7 hand size, 20 life, enhanced committed foundation. Your attack gets a bunch of damage for every 2 ranged attacks. There's 1 damage for every 2 ranged attacks in your discard pile. So obviously that's the reason why we play so many attacks, because we need a whole bunch in there. And then response commit, discard the top 3 cards of your deck, cancel a non-character enhance. That card, that ability is just great. I love having Night Watch on face.
Ooh, okay. I was gonna say nullify on face, but I'm here for that.
And nullify too, but like nullify is like it does like an extra thing, right? Nullify has the potential to negate like a character.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, but yes, yeah, nullify or Night Watch, yeah.
Yeah, it was Night Watch on face for a long time, but I say nullify now because it shares a symbol. So
true. Dude, you could play this deck off of water and also play nullify. You could just cancel all. The opponent doesn't get to play the game.
I mean, that sounds... you should be pitching that deck to me. I want to do that.
I would love to pitch that deck, but this is the greatest segue ever to why we're playing this off of Chaos or Fire is because of that card there at the very top of the attack lineup called Twisting Azure Inferno. Oh, that card is cracked, and you can't tell me any different.
Okay. I don't think I would ever try to convince you otherwise.
I will die on the hill if somebody says otherwise. I don't know what to do for them.
So, Twisting Azure Inferno, 4 difficulty, 4 mid, for 4 damage, and it is ranged. It's also got charge. And it says, response after you play an action, this attack gets +2 damage. And then it also says, if the damage is 7 or greater, for the rest of this turn, your checks get +1, and your rival's check to play blocks get -1. So... effectively, it's going to like refund itself for its progressive difficulty and then give all of your attacks like that super good fake speed that a lot of people are high on for Toru and for like One With Nature, right? Like now Plus Ultra is not the block it once was.
Yeah. It's really funny how many times I played that card and I actually haven't picked up on the fact that it says to play blocks. So, and it's like obviously... it's not gonna like it's not gonna affect things too much. I think the only thing that really will ever get affected by that is like I guess enhances to stop your abilities that are happening later on, and like
if they tried to play nullify later on during the turn, they get to nullify on a 3 instead of a -1 to that. So it's still very rarely gonna affect stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe if they have to like late turn erase on a 5 now, it's a big deal.
But like so I'm obviously this card's crazy, right? Like the chances of not having like even on like turn 2, right? If you build like 5 right on turn 1 going first, and then turn 2 you open up with like if you open up with like 2 of these, there's a very good chance that you'll have 2 to 4 already, and it's kind of the reason why. And I'll sell you on the foundation later more in depth, but it's kind of the reason why Spirited Referee's in the deck. Because you can just enhance with Todoroki, and as long as there's 2 ranged attacks in your discard pile, this attack always gets 3 damage and always turns on turn 2.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm here for it.
But obviously, you just play this attack in succession with like multiples, right? And you have at least 6 attacks in your discard pile. This just says plus 3 damage. All right, cool. I get to push the button that says my attacks are basically faster, and I pass them. Yeah.
You get to almost like a mini Crow and Frog for most characters. Like, if you're not clearing your card pool, it's basically not counting towards progressive for that one attack.
Yeah, I actually had Crow and Frog in this deck initially, and then I because I wanted the extra way to like ignore progressive, right? Because that's the other thing that the Todoroki one wants to do is he wants to string out really long. And so ignoring progressive goes like a really long way. But you can build enough to where it doesn't matter. And then if you resolve like even one Azure Inferno, and then all of the ways that your foundation's ready in the stage, the ignoring progressive didn't matter. So I just jammed back into Ice Storms and didn't bother with them in the sideboard anymore.
Okay.
I don't have a sideboard like officially put through for the deck because I think it's super subjective.
Yeah.
But there are plenty that you could like easily throw in here, like evil versus good is like a card you could throw into, or like concentrate if you really want to.
Okay, all right. Where are we going next? What's the next attack we should talk about?
We'll just keep going down the attack lineup.
Okay, because Frigid Heat Wave, that's such a staple.
Yeah, it's just a staple.
On symbol ranged package. You
could jam it up to 4, I suppose, but like.
It draws 2 cards, man. We gotta play 4 of this one. Come on.
Yeah, you could do 4 instead of like one of like the copies of like Indiscriminate. I mean, depending. Maybe I'm still trying to play Vocal Discord too much, but being a 4, but like trying to lower the curve of the attack lineup because just how many 5s are in the deck is the reason why I'm a little hard pressed to run it at 4.
Right. Okay. I can see that. Real quick, Nigamat Plays. Thank you for the Prime sub. Anyone who's got Amazon Prime, you get 1 free sub every month. So, Tamron Cardwell's not the only streamer, guys. I'm trying.
It's not. No.
All right. So Frigid Heat Wave, it's a staple, but it might not be like the most important card in our deck, right? What's Frozen Slash doing here? What's up with Frozen Slash?
The card just says +2/+2 to your next moves. Like if it's got a speed and damage bonus. It also just says deadlock, like burn your opponent, right? Like if you go to deadlock against me, which that's you either kill Todoroki really fast, or you guys both go into deadlock and just like twiddle your thumbs and whatnot until one of you goes in and fails. Okay. But that card just says enhance burn you for like 5 possibly, and it doesn't say that can't reduce your opponent down below 1.
That's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, but there's plenty of ways to trigger the speed and damage bonus on this card without having like Summon Dark Shadow, because you've got it's the reason why I have 4 copies of Easily Excited in the deck, because I want to see that foundation, and then you've got Friend of Animals, which again get to the foundations later, I suppose. Yeah,
Friend of Animals is the big one, right? It basically just gives you speed and damage on any time you use your character units.
It's the reason why I built the deck, was because of Friend of Animals and Pigeon Flock.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so this is a retrain of a card from Street Fighter set that was like a low 4/4 kick that basically had the same thing of if it received a speed and damage bonus, your next any attack, I believe, got +2/+2, and that card was not... and it had a deadlock that burned people for 2, actually. So very similar card, and that card, Stretch Kick, the Dalsim Kick is what it was. Stretch Kick was met with very little fanfare when it was previewed, but it turned out to be like a solid top cutting style attack. Like for the deck it was in, I think Dalsim's actually like diversified each other at more than one event. So this might be.
I played a lot of Dalsim when he was really.
Yeah, like I remember someone working on a Dalsim deck really hard and being like very skeptical of it, and then they just went to an event and did really well and got diversified, and I was like, holy shit, there was another Dalsim, and it turns out that Stretch Kick was just really fucking good. So
it turns out buffing your next moves and everything, because obviously that move is not going to be a 4-low for 4.
Diversified is the old Universes rule used to be that only one of each character could make top cuts. And so if you did not have the best record as Dalsim, only the best record Dalsim made it in. And you had to watch out for other people playing your character.
Also to note, it has to be that version of the character, right? It's not like...
True, yeah, it has to be...
It's not like somebody could get diversified out with like Midoriya 1 if somebody's playing Midoriya 2 and makes it.
Yeah, it was a product of its time. When you have like a smaller community, it's hard for me to be pro diversity. I can't really be pro diversity. It's fucking whack overall, but there is reasons why it was implemented.
You'll find a lot of people that are very like there's no really in between for that rule. I've noticed people are really hard for it or hard against it, and like you get hard people that are hard for it and everything are like, well, just play like the best version of that character.
Yeah,
and everything. And like it's gotten me a couple times, but like I've also beaten people out with diversity before, so like it's.
The main thing is, I've personally never been diversified, but it sucks feeling like it might happen. It doesn't feel fair, and it feels really shitty to do it to someone else. Like, it just... It just has never really hit home as, like, a rule that makes total sense, but... And, like, all the people who are pro-diversity are typically like, oh, well, you should have just played better as that character. Like, you weren't going to win the tournament anyways, and... You know, that whole line of thinking just makes no sense. Like, why even have top cuts at that point? Just let Swiss champ take it, you know? So
I do like diversity in the sense of not having everything be the same thing. Like when we had the MHA first come out with, like, 7 copies of Kirishima 1, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've played plenty of Magic and everything, so I know the whole, like, you see a single deck in top cuts and everything, and then it gets really stale. So that was kind of the reason why I was fine with diversity for as long as I was. As we played the game, and the fact that like sometimes you get like 2 or 3 copies of a character now in top cuts, I'm not as like against it anymore. I'm fine with the fact that it's gone now.
Man, we always the diversity is such an easy thing to get into a tangent on, and everyone feels so strongly about it. But the one thing I will say is. When I first started playing, the second or third event that was hosted was Rochester CCG had a 2K event, I think it was, at a convention here in Vegas, and they advertised no diversity. There was like a clear-cut Felicia is the best character in the format kind of a feeling. There was very few stuff like right next to it. And Bacon Saver, thanks for the follow, bud. Thanks for joining us in chat. And so anyway, so there was like a very clear like Felicia is like the best character feeling. They advertised no diversity, and literally 0 Felicia showed up. People were like teching very hard against Felicia, expecting it to be like a million Felicias, and then she just didn't show up at all. And ever since then, I've just never really cared about the diversity rule. It never seemed like it was really important until we wanted to, really grow the game and take that next step to having like a huge competitive circuit, I guess. But let's get back to the deck, because we're here for the deck pitch. We've got Twisting Azure Inferno, which is just a Nutty Butters card, right? We've talked about how we just got to pump this baby up and then it's smooth sailing. We've got our card draw. We've got our stat pump. Tell me about this card. Tell me about Vocal Discord.
So this deck wants to go like a little bit longer, right? You want to play like into like the turn 4s and 5s to kill people. So you're playing out through a lot of your deck. So this card reasonably can be like a 6 low. Like it's probably going to be the most consistent as a 5 low for 5. Probably more, and depending on how late the game goes, it goes to 6 and 7. So when your character's already dumping a bunch of damage onto the move, playing this as well later in the string just means it's like, all right, cool. Here's this first attack we're gonna throw, like giant ice wall. There's like 9 damage to it, 10 damage to it. Then there's your second move. Then this Vocal Discord comes as your third move, which is like a 6-speed move. So I've been trying it out to see how good I feel that the card is, and I think it's worthy to have a 1 or a 2 of.
Okay.
Because it's also a low block as well, right? Like the Chaos has a lot of low blocks actually on their attacks, which comes up often.
Okay, all right. I'm seeing it a little bit more considering, the pace of the deck. It seems like an all right stinker to me, only because there's so many games where my opponent already tried to like kill me with floating around my babies, and they just trash their whole discard, or I'm playing against decks with 5 or 6 assets in them, and it just throws the counts off. But
you could easily sideboard in 2 other, like you could decide in 2 other attacks, right? Doesn't matter what they are, and then just like if the matchup is against floating or against like asset heavy, action heavy decks, sure, chuck them out. It's not that bad at all. But I think it's, in a general sense, especially like if you think about it, like Kirishima 2 is one of the biggest decks right now. That character's actively blowing up his foundations every single turn.
Yes, they are cycling. The Kirishimas are playing 74 card decks and still getting down to like 10 cards when they like the last provisional webcam provisional was Kirishima using Hellflame Javelin. And I didn't know this at the time. I looked at it later. He was, less than 10 cards left in the deck. And I looked at the list later. It's a 72-card mainboard deck. That, like, he had 60 freaking cards in his discard pile. So when I think about it that way, when I think of this as like a Garrett Brett killer, where he's just going to sit on his 70-card Life May pile or whatever, like, I can just put +8 speed on this one time and it does work for me. I might be sold. This is the card. This is the one where I was.
That was the set. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to
also
chuck this
against
card
Tokoyami as well, right? Like Tokoyami just has enhanced discard at the top 5 of his deck. So like there are characters that fuel their discard pile at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fine. If we get to a point where people are playing like closer to those like really greedy 50-50 ratios and stuff like that, or we're playing like 10 action bird or like assets like somehow like get super big into decks and everything, then sure, the card obviously loses some of its value and everything, but it's just like it's a fine 2x. But like it could even go down to like 1, right? You could go down to 1 of that and then like the 4th heat wave.
Yeah, I could easily see myself siding 1 or 2 of these for a deck that's just like equally slow, or like you said, like Kirishima. I was playing a 52 card Kirishima list the other day, and I was like, I went to do, I think, Tetsu Thrashing Enhance or something like that, and ended up taking a card off the top of my deck and went, oh shit, there goes my discard pile. Like, I just cycled, and I was so like, wow, it's so early in the game. But I'm trying to think of specific characters this could fuck over, because like there's a couple of times where people do want to stack the top of their deck, but I can't think of any character who's really doing that defensively right now.
It's against the core create decks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they get their Rising Starlight on top of the discard pile, and you get to snipe it away.
It removes the top card of your rival's deck, not their discard.
Oh, rival's deck. I'm sorry, it says deck. But there are still ways to stack the top of the deck, though, for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that. Yeah, All Might 2, Disaster Dan's in chat. All Might 2 went away out of nowhere, like, for all the super defensive decks, but, like, All Might 2 with Tetsu thrashing, that's in the back of my mind. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Let's talk about this then. Chat's distracting me.
Indiscriminate shock's just pretty, like, straightforward, right? It's just like a bomb. It adds, like, 6-7 damage on itself, and then, like, Todoroki adds, like, 4 to 5 damage, so...
It's so low effort.
Hey, you just blocked this, like, 7 low vocal discord. Here's this, like, potentially 5 low, like, 20 damage indiscriminate shock as well after the fact.
This is the lowest effort attack probably in the game, where you're just like, yo, man, it stuns, it might stun another one, and then it just gets really fucking big.
The dream is when you have double Friend of Animals in play, and you enhance with Todoroki to give it damage, and then you enhance with itself to commit the Friend of Animals, and now suddenly this is like a 7 low for like 18.
Yeah. It's just big.
Yeah, it's just big number go burr, right? The card's great.
Speaking of big number go burr, help me out. We got Dark Shadow Ruin in this motherfucker?
Yep. It's fine as like an opener. Like if Plus Ultra comes in, right, it doesn't count towards the aggressive. That's great. It's importantly an ally attack, and we need to have other ally hits for Friend of Animals to stuff into our momentum. Yeah. So it's fine. It's a breaker 1 +1 mid block. You can still easily give it the +3 damage and stun 1 because of Friend of Animals and because of easily excited. So it happens fairly often. It's why I ran the Crone Frogs initially in the list as well, but because the deck was going so long, I like always had an ally attack in my discard pile, and I needed more defensive pieces. That's why the Crows got cut.
Okay.
But yeah, its biggest thing is it has the ally keyword too.
Okay. Big thing for me, this is the first Breaker card we've come across. I love me some Breaker, so.
Breaker is great. Yeah. Especially in a character that has 20 life.
Yeah, almost, and Chambers talking, if you're confident in running Frozen Slash, you're probably confident in running Dark Shadow Ruin, right? Like,
yeah, I like what Chambers said, right? Like if you play Frozen Slash and trigger Frozen Slash, then you play Ruin, you also trigger Ruin. So yeah.
Yeah. If you feel confident enough to trigger one of these attacks, you're confident enough to trigger both, and then they only help each other, right? Or at least Slash helps the other one.
Exactly.
All right. Giant Ice Wall. We have a lot of 2-ofs, right? We got a lot of.
There's a lot of just diversity. Yeah, like I said, it's really tough, right? Because there's a lot of really good chaos attacks, and I don't have like 100% exact numbers other than 4 copies of Azure Inferno. Like you could flub these numbers could go any which way in the world, and you probably feel just fine.
Yeah.
But like Ice Wall is another off zone. It's another breaker block, sweet. But like you can also just like you can turn 1. Get your momentum from Friend of Animals and just stun 4 your opponent out, and maybe you just like accidentally kill them on turn 2.
Yeah, I could see that. Give me 1 second. Talk to me about Command Pigeon Flock in this deck, because I feel like there's a lot to talk about, and I think my cat is meowing for me. So give me 1 second. Talk about Command Pigeon.
Okay. I mean, so it's primarily the reason why we're playing 4 copies of Friend of Animals, right? So like there's 8 ally foundations in the deck. There's 4 copies of Animals. There's 3 successful results, and there's 1 copy of Cool Student. But yeah, Friend of Animals or Command Pigeon Block builds you Friend of Animals, and I literally had a game that I was playing, where I went into on my attack turn, played my Pigeon Flock, and checked Friend of Animals, and I looked at my hand and my discard pile and said, "Oh, I guess you're just dead."
Right.
Because I checked this card and got to build it. Because suddenly I got to enhance, commit it, give my thing speed, get a momentum, use said momentum to like fuel successful results or my requesting assistance to ready my Friend of Animals. There's so many things that you do with this card. It's just the card's actually, I think Flock is actually really, really good. It's one of my top attacks from the set, and I didn't give it enough love when it first came, when I first saw the reveals.
Interesting, yeah. This has been one I'm kind of focused on, I guess. Like, ramping, building, always really good. This is a card that just, Friend of Animals specifically just gets value everywhere you go, right? Like, you're going to commit it, you'll get a bonus. Then while it's committed, it'll ramp you a completely different resource. So if you can ramp this card, you can ramp essentially 2 resources. And so This is the one I've been looking to break, but the ally keyword is luckily just a little too narrow most of the time.
Yep, and like obviously it's really narrow, but like where these cards shine, like they're really good. Mm-hmm. My buddy said that, like, Command Pigeon Flock is kind of like Haymaker, and like in a sense, yeah, it's kind of like it, right? It gets to build you a really sweet card, mm-hmm. but Haymaker obviously has its obvious, way above and beyond as far as utility goes. But like where Pigeon Flock is good, it's very good.
Yeah.
That card also, like, sometimes you string a bunch of your ally attacks and you get to, like, just kill them because of its enhanced, because it gets a bunch of damage. But it really is just it's a high attack that builds you Friend of Animals.
Right.
I've definitely done the play of enhance, commit Friend of Animals, give it 2 speed on my second attack. Get my momentum, use Cool Student to give it +2 to my check, stack my Cool Student, play my Command Pigeon Flock, check a 7 because Cool Student's on top of my deck, put Cool Student back on into my stage. There's so many cool buttons you get to press with this deck, I swear.
Yeah, that's basically like the wet dream of every Koji Coda deck, is to just like say, this doesn't count towards progressive, put Cool Student on top, check a 5 for the next one, build it, this one doesn't count. So seeing Todoroki do that with like +1s from Twisting Azure and like the momentum ramp, that can be pretty scary, because when you commit that foundation in Todoroki, you're putting like buckets of damage on stuff.
I played a game where like I was like 4 attacks in almost, and my board was like I had like 2 things out of like my 8 committed.
Yeah.
Because of the plus to checks, all the ways that I ready stuff and everything. Yeah. I personally don't think the ally theme is strong enough right now to be a main theme. But definitely, like, if you just slot it into decks, I think it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
I don't think you focus on it. I think it's a plenty good sub theme that gets a lot of value right now.
All right, and then go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna go into what you were saying. Yeah, just 3 copies of Ice Storm, right? Like,
it's Ice Storm. It's just a solid ultra rare, right? Todoroki is Mr. Special Handsome Boy, so he gets to have 2 ultra rare attacks from set 1. That's just how it goes.
Yep. That's like Ochako from set 2.
All right. And then we got some plus ultras here. You always got to have plus ultra, right?
Yeah, right. You can get the momentum on turn 1 to use plus ultra on turn 2. Or yeah, you can get the momentum on turn 2 from Friend of Animals to plus ultra on turn 2. If you ever do it on an Inferno, you don't have to double the damage of the attack, right? On Inferno, you can double the speed to force it through, because it's going to get at least 2 damage and then at least 1 damage from your character. So yeah.
Okay.
And it just blocks well. There's the Ochako 2s of the format, right? You have to prepare for Ochako 2, and plus ultra is the best way to do that.
Yes. Ochako 2 is the 7 hand size killer for sure.
And Extendo Hairstrike, right? Like that card also just like murders people, and it just gets 1 billion speed. And normally the damage isn't high enough to kill you on a half block, so even if you don't have like self assured out, you can still just half block it and live.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I think I found out why I thought my cat was meowing. I see your cat running around in the background.
Oh yeah, it's probably mine. She does that.
Yeah, I just saw your cat go up the slide, and I was like, that's adorable.
Yeah, she loves that. She'll go up there, and then our first kid will go and try and like grab at her and everything and play with her. It's hilarious. Yeah, we'll go into the foundations now, I guess, right?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Friend of Animals already. It's pretty obvious that this card is just absolute powerhouse from set 3.
Can we sort these by the difficulty, actually?
Yes.
Because
that's my preferred method. That's how I build my decks. I actually go by decreasing difficulty order.
Yeah, so like there are so many good zeros now on Chaos that it's really easy to just like jam 4 copies of all of them, but then obviously you have too many foundations that like kind of sometimes don't do enough. But like, I'll talk about easily excited, I guess, first, because like, I mean, I guess I kind of already touched why I run 4 of that card is because there's a lot of ways like you need to have the speed bonus as well, and so just having it reliably, and also it's just a card that says that my things hit faster, and Todoroki makes them hit harder, so you don't need to double up on like basic trainings and everything.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, basic trainings also just super good card. It's another deadlock thing that makes our stuff faster. So the more deadlock we have in the deck, the better, because people just like want to go to deadlock against this character, kill him quick, and then requesting assistance is requesting assistance. I've played it so many times where I've had a momentum, and then like use Friend of Animals to commit for 2 speed and like 4 damage, and then use requesting assistance to flip and ready it, and then do it again on the next move, and then get my momentum from that as well. So yeah, it pushes the amount of value we get out of our enhanced commit stuff.
Yeah, we talked in the last one about how it's like, was it first impressions or good impression? It's like kind of like having 2 foundations. Requesting assistance is way more like having 2 foundations.
It's definitely like having 2 foundations. I'm going to give your thing -3 speed with Specialist to sit, and I have a momentum. All right, I'll enhance and ready my Specialist to sound to be able to do it again.
Yeah.
Okay. And the third release is probably going to be like, I think in my head, because of all the zeros already, like release is always going to be that like 2 of main, 1 of side now if you really need to be defensive, just because checking 4s is like really awkward, especially with our 5 difficulty attacks. So
yeah, it's the kind of thing where release used to make you like automatically a ridiculous wall deck. Now release is just going to give you parity with 1 with nature. Like you're just going to have to trade my foundation for the card you discarded a lot of the time.
Yeah. I guess next is Struggling with Studies, which that card is now seeing less because it competes with Chivalrous Competitor, right? And like that card, Chivalrous Competitor is just so good.
Right. It's kind of funny. Chivalrous Competitor is like they took Struggling with Studies and they took High Value Target and then they had a baby, and it's just like on 2 of their symbols and just better on the response end. Like, yeah, the enhance is like way different, but like it was a very weird choice for me to see this on these symbols.
Yeah, I don't know why they printed that on both of the, like they printed both Destroy and Flip, and I'm like, oh sweet, that card's just insanely good now.
Yeah, like I still like that High Value Target is the closest thing to Speed Hate that the Earth symbol kind of has, but like, man, is its response just strictly worse than Chivalrous Competitor?
It certainly is.
Same block, same difficulty, so
yeah, it's got all the same stuff. There's so many 1/3s. The low block situation in Chaos on their foundations is I've also found is pretty crazy now too, because there's a lot, so making cuts is difficult on those.
Yeah, and with seizing the advantage on the horizon, you're going to want flip protection at Nationals.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, that's why I think Tam was talking about playing 4 copies of this and 1 copy of Struggling, and I think just having the extra copy of the Flip 8, and then the extra copy of be able to like block an extra thing is like perfectly fine to make it too. But like my deck's larger, so like I can afford to have the extra copy. A bird deck can't be like a 70+ card deck, really. At least it doesn't want to be. It wants to be slimmer. So
yeah, I'm a way bigger fan of Struggling overall, but as far as deck consistency goes, like I'm agreeing with these ratios. The times where Struggling is gonna be like a lot of the work that Struggling does is making sure that your breaker 2s do their job, because your opponent doesn't want you to pick a 1 up and breaker 2 again. So,
yeah.
Whereas,
I think this card also always gets played more when you're playing a Cheerful Uppercut, because like, getting breaker 2'd again can suck, but like also having like the extra card in your card pool really, really can hurt too. And so like you'll see Struggling more with specifically uppercut.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which obviously we're not playing in this deck because it's not a ranged attack.
Yeah, and then
Although, that Deadlock Enhance is just so good.
I was about to say, is this here mostly for the Deadlock? Because I don't typically want to spend my momentum on this effect, but it is one of the staple effects that I was really surprised was not in the My Hero Set 1 or My Hero Set 2.
Which one? Just enhance discard momentum ready?
Yeah, discard 1 momentum, ready this foundation, playable while committed, and no limit to the number of times you can play it per turn. That has been like a staple effect in, I'm going to say every set, probably not true, but it's always been in standard. It's always been like something that like pretty much every symbol has had access to since I started playing the game. So it's really cool to see it come back in this set.
This card also notably has a really cool keyword on it called ally.
True.
So because you need to make sure that your pigeon flocks have like a consistent hit, right? And like there's only 8 hits, so like it is consistent, but it's not. The thing I love most about it is that like you don't feel bad saying, I'm going second. Let me review this friend of animals and draw back up and everything, because you can just pick that card back up with command pigeon flock. But it's the same with successful results, and it's the same with cool student. You don't mind reviewing those cards because you can just build them in later. Right. But there are a lot of times where we'll play our first attack and fully use friend of animals, and then on our second attack, we'll enhance and commit our successful results to give the damage. But then we also, because we have the momentum now, we just get to discard it and ready it, because like the momentum outlets in this deck, other than Ice Storm, there's not a ton of momentum outs. But like, so being able to constantly reuse this card essentially says enhance, discard a momentum, be able to give one of my attacks plus 5 damage, later on.
Right. We're juxtaposing our cost, right? It's now basically discard a momentum for a bazillion damage.
Yep. So. And the fact that it doesn't have a limit means if you ever like go on a turn and hit them like twice, and then your next turn, like you just get so many free uses of your character.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it fits the ally sub theme. It has obvious synergies with our character, and then from a Deadlock perspective, it's hard to beat. Flip any 2, by the way, not that have not been readied yet, but any 2 foundations and a momentum.
I'm gonna comment really quick, Disaster Dan. Yeah. I don't run League Interview because I don't run 6 diff attacks, and I am a big proponent of, if you're not running 6 diff attacks, I don't think League Interview has a spot in your deck unless you're running it at a 1 of, because the amount of times that you're going to check a 5 on your attack anyway are going to be so much higher than the random times that you're going to go 5 diff on a 3. Unless you're Jose, then you have to play that card because he always checks a 3 on his back alleys. But if you're not, I don't think you want to run, unless you're playing a lot of like 4 diff lead-ins maybe. But I think because you're not getting the extra value of playing a 6 difficulty attack, I find I'm just wasting the first form anyway. I'm just like discarding these like 2/5 checks on top of my deck to then check a 5 that checks a 6 on my 5 diff attack.
Okay.
It's also not a great block. Yeah, cool. It's got a response to give you an extra 1 foundation on blocking, and the 6 check just doesn't come up enough.
Okay.
I think Tam put it the best way on one of his streams. He's like, the amount of times that it's going to come up where you're going to exclusively need a 6 check on top of your deck are going to be so low that it doesn't matter, and you're more likely going to just like play your foundation string on turn 1, and there's going to be one of your 6s that you don't need.
Interesting. Yeah, the hidden text for me on League Interview is I get to play my 4 diff Jolt for free. Like, I love it with 4 diffs because I'm not gonna fail my 4 diff ever now. I'm not gonna
exactly.
Like it's yeah. Like if I'm not playing 6 difficulty attacks, I'm probably not gonna play a 5 difficulty attack after I League Interview. I'm gonna play a 4, and I'll save that extra foundation for like later in the turn.
Yep. And like Yeah, so like if you're leading in on more fours, yeah, I totally see running a couple of copies of it. And like I said, same with the six. But like we want to lead in with, giant ice wall, command pigeon flock, or
And Dark Shadow Ruin in this deck is a fine lead off because we're not trying to sequence around action cards, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you're fine with that as well. You just like play Dark Shadow Ruin if you've built basic training and easily excited. You just respond both of those. That is the freest 5 high for 9 with stun 1.
Okay.
So yeah, I've never liked Vegan of You much unless I'm playing like Pillar Swing.
Yeah. I'm with Dan where it's like I value that card in such a weird way. I almost never end up playing it myself. Like it's a card I play at locals a lot for like Pillar Swing decks, but
yeah, I think we're on the exact same page with that card, you and me.
Yeah, no, that's very cool because a lot of people just blanket go, "Hey, this is only upside. It mills me. It does all these things." But like, on 73 cards, we still have a little bit of discretion.
I literally just had a thought. Oh, I think it also has play when you're playing like a lot of 6 checks. Like if you're playing like a heavy 6-check deck, then yes. Yeah. When that's obviously your goal is to check them. But I don't think we have enough 6s in the game at the moment to really warrant that.
All right, so I'm gonna have a bone to pick with you on this one, but we have a cool student. Can you tell me what's wrong with this image right here?
What do you mean what's wrong with the image?
What's there's something missing from this cool student tab. Oh,
the fact that it says 1?
Yeah, that we're only running 1. Come on, man. It's an ally card. It's got Tokoyami on it. It bonuses our checks.
We just don't need more of it. It's just to fill in, like, it's that extra 1-of that we need. I think this is always the coolest 1-of foundation and everything. And so being able just to, like, help you string out a bit longer and everything, or make that, like, that play of stacking it for your pigeon flock attack. But it's not like a key part of the deck in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Yeah, like you could easily bump that number up because it's got like a semi-decent high block as well. I know the high block situation on the foundations. There's a pretty decent amount of like. I think there's a decent number of like ones that are high. It's got it's got Frozen that's already competing with it.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. So like. You can mix the numbers around, right? Like you could go down to Villains Defeated. You could go down to Frozen, but I don't think you can ever go down to 1 copy of Frozen. So
okay. This is kind of repeatable until it leaves your stage. So I guess having like multiples down is only going to matter so often. But man, I love this foundation.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? Like that card doesn't do a lot in multiple copies unless you just want a multiple stack 5s on top of your deck at like losing a foundation. Yeah. But I don't think going -1 to guarantee a 5 is worth it, and when you're doing that multiple times on a turn.
Yeah, to me it's like secretly the best way to refund the Todoroki cost with the friend of animals there is like, yeah, you could spend it to ready successful results, but if we have cool student, we can just get +2 to the check, right? So you can do.
You can also do that too.
Shit.
Yeah, so it's got plenty of uses, but like it's not something that you need multiples of. Yeah, because like you were saying, if you ever see 2 of this card, you're never going to say enhance discard 2 momentum +4 to your check. It's just not going to happen.
Okay. Encouraging training partner, super staple defensive piece.
Yep, speed reset. Right, you have some more on the sideboard, but it's a speed. It's a soft reset. But yeah, soft speed reset.
Have you? Yeah, it's true. I guess 4 is pretty soft, but have you ever gotten to use this offensively with a vocal discord where you flip for like +2 speed and then do it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
It's also flexible.
Yeah. I'm getting a little more sold on vocal discord, I think, as time goes on. It's a weird stat stick though.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is just a 4 diff stat stick, but Yeah. The dream of going encouraging training partner and then enhancing with that thing. Whew, numbers get big.
All right, we got Frozen.
Yep. I mean, I think that's just another kind of like I think that's a staple 2x in most decks, right? Just being able to say enhance Todoroki, commit my thing, give some damage, and then destroy it to make you commit one. Great. Yeah. I might switch the numbers on villains defeated and Frozen. I might go to 3 Frozen and 2 villains defeated, but I just wanted to be extra defensive. Plus, there's like so many like Waylay decks running around right now that like 3 villains defeated is like it seems really good right at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yep.
And tell me about villains defeated since we mentioned it here.
Yeah, I mean, like that's just like that's a combo stopper. That's anti-discard, which people are really high on discard at the moment because of Villainous Waylay coming out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I can dig it.
Dan, I appreciate that you have to relook at Vocal Discord. I appreciate that. Thank
you. Yeah, it's man, it's such a weird card because like so many decks are just going to be trying to yeet themselves at you. You're going to look at it as like, man, this is the slowest card of all time. But then as soon as you hit that top cuts match where you're playing against somebody who's on turn 7 and you're play 1 passing, like all of a sudden it's 8 speed.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's also got charge on it. It's definitely in my Chaos Dobby deck that's off of charge because enhance once per game. You have to destroy 7 or 8. Like if you have to destroy 4 to 8 foundations as Dobby, and then I get to enhance with this Vocal Discord. Hell yeah, we got 2 extra speed because of my once per game.
Absolutely wild. All right, first day of class. This one is one of my favorites that always seems to get cut from my decks.
Yeah, I just having the extra. So like this card also says that like. I mean, there's never a world where you're not going to just enhance commit to give +2 to your next check or anything, but like, it's like soft anti-stun. It's like a fine card, right? I think it's always fine as like a 1 or a 2 of and everything. And it also just helps self-mitigate the high difficulty curve.
That's fair. Excuse me, it's getting a little late here. Although I'm sure it's much later on your coast. Yeah, first day of class, I love it for refunding costs, but then I always find myself using it for the check bonus, and then I find myself using it for stun hate, and so like it's almost like too versatile in a way where I put it in my deck and it has a use in so many ways, and I'm just like trying to guess where the right time to use the response and flip it has been really difficult actually.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. There is always that chance, right? You just like go play 5 diff. And then you say, you know what? I'm confident in my check. I'm not going to first day of class. I'm going to enhance with Todoroki to commit it, to ready it, right? Yeah. And get two uses. And just say, you know what? If the gods decide to say that I'm going to check a 3 here on my next move, then I was destined to check a 3, and I should have enhanced with first day of class.
Yeah,
I think we skipped over a couple foundations as well. We skipped over self-assured and irrefutable.
We will do, irrefutable and self-assured. We got a lot of staple effects, right? Like
that's fair.
I think everyone knows what self-assured is doing in a Todoroki deck, right? It's
makes sense. Yeah,
we're drawing 8 million cards. Like our maximum card draw we could draw is what 6.
Yep.
So like
6.
This is super good. Zone change is super strong. And
yeah, to make something into a mid so we can break or 2 block you. Yep.
Yeah, and then Irrefutable seals pretty much everything that isn't a life card in the format.
I don't know. It seals rescue completed and while playing.
Yeah. So like it seals like 2/3 of the face shield symbols and then gets the fire symbol. There's so few cards. Like there's so few decks that aren't gonna have a target for this.
Oh, I mean, honestly, or you just say enhance remove, right? Like, if you're trying to kill them, you just go enhance remove, seal something.
Yep, and then in a pinch, if you absolutely need it, you just, once per game, get to seal something and go for the win, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did skip over them only because these are some of the most well-represented cards in our format, is these 3 foundations.
That's fair.
And then Graceful Maneuvers, it does one thing.
Yep. I had that too, but then I found that I needed more speed hate.
Yeah.
It was 2 copies of that 3 spirited referee. I swapped the numbers. It might honestly, because there's so little speed hate for this deck, it might go to 4 and go to 1 spirited referee instead.
Okay, all right. Let me talk about this, right? We've got graceful maneuvers. It's -2 speed on any attack, and then it's usually like 3 or 4 with the, it starts to refund your progressive difficulty, basically. Is this similar enough, or do we think about maybe adding some ice gliding? Because we're going to get relatively the same overall speed hate, but at a lower difficulty curve.
Ice gliding doesn't have chaos.
Is it not?
That card is fire, order.
Oh, it's a Todoroki 2 card. Oh,
Todoroki
shit.
2 card. We cannot play that.
Oh man, my bad. Well, it's their fault for putting it on. All right, never mind. Yeah,
there are so many worlds where I wish we could play that card.
Oh man, yeah, I saw your face. I saw your face. I was like, oh man. Yeah,
you were talking, and I'm like, oh man, who's gonna break it to him that it doesn't have chaos on it?
In my head, it had order, chaos, and water, and I don't know why. We just did the deck profile with Bacon, where like I talked up ice gliding as being like, a girl like any other adjacent. It's so good, but graceful maneuvers in that respect, it's oftentimes going to be relatively that same output, right? It's -3 speed, almost always minimum.
Yeah, and like we could play like clever distraction in this deck, but there's like I don't want to find room for more 1 foundations.
Right. Clever is really iffy right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people with mid attacks going down. I love that
True.
the cat uses the slide to get over the baby gate.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me happy for no reason. I love seeing cats just perform like small tasks that anybody can do.
Yep. We have 4.
Oh.
One of the other ones is in here. One's probably still upstairs. You saw her, and then my 4th cat is currently in the dining room underneath the chair.
Okay. Damn, we got the whole litter out.
Oh, that's also not to mention the 2 Great Danes. There's a lot of animals here.
Okay, well, now that we know that you're a zookeeper by profession. All right, let's move on to Spirited Referee here. This just seems like more of a good thing.
Yeah, it's just more damage. That card also randomly has Breaker 1.
Yes,
Solid.
it does.
But yeah, right. It's just it just says +2 damage, right? It adds an extra 2 damage onto our Todoroki enhance. So if they're tapped out and everything, and your move's gonna connect, just getting to say extra 2. Or if it also just can come up where I'm not gonna block this thing, but you stunned it. All right, I guess I got -1 damage.
Yeah, sometimes all hands are on deck. We're in a Mayday situation, and you can just Todoroki enhance to commit it. I really hope to never be in that situation, but it is an option.
Yep. Yeah, there's not much else to say. But like I said, it's one of the ones that might go down to 1 to do 4 graceful. But
yeah, if it did -2 damage, I'd be all here for it, right? Just to make your own resistance.
If Clever had ally, I would run it as like at least a 1-of, just another ally hit for sure.
Okay, yeah. All right, we got probably the real boogeyman of this format, One with Nature.
Yeah, you don't really need to say much about the best foundation printed in set 3.
Ooh, right, best. Yeah, that's probably true though.
I was thinking about it, right? I was thinking about it on the way home. I was like, I'm really sorry if you don't want me to do this. It's just a slight plug, right? For like one of my next videos that I'm planning on making. I was thinking about talking about what I think are the best, like the top 5 foundations, the top 5 like attacks from set 3. And I was thinking about it, and I'm just like, it's really tough to find out the other 4 because there's one that's just so easy. It's always One with Nature.
Right. Yeah. It's weird because I don't want it to be as hype as it is. Like, it's weird because I look at it and I'm just like, it's purely offensive. It costs a whole card from your hand, which I've been looking all throughout set 1 and 2 for like a discard outlet. I'm like, man, if I could just discard a card for 1 speed, I'm good, right? And like all this stuff stacks up, and I'm still just like, God, it's purely offensive, and yet it's got so many numbers on it, and it works in exactly the way you need it to. It works against plus ultra. It, you know, makes math kind of weird for people anyway, because you can say it's 3 speed, but it's not really 3 speed, right? Like, this card is just like way too good for for what it is.
I mean, this card's a standard card. This card is a standard card, literally verbatim, reprinted into a My Hero format, and so like it's going to shine. It's the reason why Season the Advantage is going to shine, because that card is also basically a standard card, as I'm sure you know about Hunt for Spiders and Dragons.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the cards that basically cards that were in standard that are now in MHA, yeah, those cards are insane.
Yeah, and they're specifically like some of the best cards that were printed like before Bebop. It's like Bebop was like the really big power creep meteor that hits, and like One with Nature is a card that like no one was playing until it got souped up, like its symbols got saved basically by power creep later. And then Hunt for Spiders was one that like every deck on its symbol was running some copy of, and decks were even splashing if they could.
Yep.
So
really quick, Dan, it's all worked up as a card that I'm gonna try and fit into this list somehow. I have no idea where I'm making cuts for it, but at like a 1 or a 2, and probably a 2 of, I will throw it in there, because you're right. Yeah, being able to say enhance with Todoroki, give damage, and then blow up to give minus a +1 to my check. Seems great. Or yeah, like you said, like enhance on One with Nature, respond, give it a damage. So essentially, One with Nature says +2/+2.
right.
So I'm gonna try and fit 2 in here. I just have no clue where.
Okay.
And then we end on Friend of Animals, which I don't think I need to talk more about, because that's Foundation is so cool.
If there's any card that's competing with One with Nature, it's Friend of Animals, and the only reason Friend of Animals is not beating One with Nature is because of the keyword restrictions on it specifically, I think. Like,
yeah,
anybody can slap a One with Nature and just go, well, I have a card to discard. Not everyone's going to have an ally attack in their deck just based, just off the bat. So, but is there anything else you want to tell me about before I make my decision on whether or not this is a deck I would pick for Nationals?
Honestly, I don't think there's a whole lot more. I mean, I've said my piece about it. I think being able to say response commit on Todoroki to cancel he enhances is really good. There's going to be a lot of Ojoros playing Student of the Art, right? So stopping Dark Shadow Ruins or Twisting Azure Infernos. There's just a lot that you can negate right now, and so having it on face is really good.
Yeah, it's as attacks get better, right? As stuff gets better, having that cancel is kind of a big deal. I will say I love the control element. I love the scaling offense element of it. I'm a big fan of the command pigeon flock. I'm a big fan of like the card draw that the range package can offer you. But as it stands right now, I'm going to have to pass, but not for the reason you're thinking, because this deck does have a lot of the stuff I talked about before. It had the breaker blocks that I need, right? It has defensive options with release and encouraging training partner and graceful maneuvers, and so it's playing both sides beautifully. You've got check bonuses, so you can play around all the check hacking and all the One with Natures, and it looks like a very good deck ready for the field. However, am I ready for the field? Am I knowledgeable enough to apply these control elements in a format that is going to be blazing fast and, everyone is hyping up aggro, which I don't necessarily think an aggro deck is going to win. I'm just saying people are going to be coming for your throat, and to play a character like Todoroki, you're going to have to be pretty well versed. This is a deck I could easily see taking online mats. I might play this at online mats where I know a little bit better of like what to cancel and where the formula's at, but I think the real nail in the coffin for me is Todoroki's just such a pouty bitch, and I can't play that character. I just can't. After all, like, I watched one season of the anime, and he's just the most insufferable fucking whiny little character. And I'm sure he's got a good reason. I'm sure Endeavor's a shitty dad or whatever, but like, Todoroki fans are insufferable. The character is insufferable, and you know, if you could just like take all that nice text on him and put it on a more palatable character, I'd be down.
You know what? That's completely fair. That's hilarious.
As far as the effects go, and as far as the cards go, I'm digging it. I'm digging the effects. But as far as like Icy Hot, he's got the worst nickname too. He's got an American itch cream for a fucking, a pain relief cream for his gimmick. Come on now.
No. Everyone knows his real nickname is Half and Half Bastard.
Half and Half Bastard?
Yes, that's what he gets called a lot by Bakugo, and that's what I call him, Half and Half.
Oh, I've only ever heard him called Icy Hot. That's so funny.
That's fair. No, Icy Hot's also there too, but when you see them interact more in the anime, that is the thing that he always calls him is Half and Half Bastard.
Okay. It's just super funny because, like, you know, he's got so many ice attacks too because he hates his daddy. Not to be confused with Rat Bastard Ochako too.
So that's really cool, so right? Because like if you look at set 1, right? Mm-hmm. Set 1 attacks were Giant Ice Wall, Ice Storm, Massive Flash Freeze, and then Frigid Heat Wave. Yeah. So like he had three attacks that were like ice themed, and he had one that was kind of both. And then if you go to set 2, he has Searing Glacial Storm, which is kind of like the both, right? He's got Half Hot Ignition. He has, I don't remember all the attacks off the top of my head. I'm not a true fan of this character, apparently.
They're eventually gonna run out of ways to say hot thing, cold thing, though.
Well, no, they're not even saying hot thing, cold thing a whole lot. They're doing it twice with Searing Glacial and Frigid Heat Wave, but then like there's Cinder Convection, and then there's Downward Frostbite. But like the set 2 cards are supposed to be themed around when they were in the tournament, which is when he started using his firepower more.
I did see that.
In set 1, he's using almost all ice, and so all of his moves are like ice themed. I just think it's really funny, right? Like if you look at the names of everything, lore wise, as far as his character goes, makes total sense.
Thematically, they did a good job, but like, you know. I don't know.
Now we have Freezer Burn.
Right, cold thing, hot thing.
Cold thing, hot thing.
Chat, I'll give you 1 minute. I'll give the chat 1 minute to type up. You know, this is push your glasses up, hit the actualies. Stretch your fingers out like Hacker Man. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me because people are saying I'm wrong about Todoroki and I need to keep watching, but like. I mentioned I only watched like one season or whatever, so you got to keep that in mind. From my experiences with Todoroki in the show, and my experiences interacting with Todoroki fans, you know who y'all are. Y'all know the people with Todoroki on their backpack. It's been weird. Yeah, see, I am right. He is a whiny ass bitch in season 1.
He has good. I think he's got very good character development as you get through the anime.
Yeah,
it's funny. We actually just caught up on all of season 6.
Okay, yeah. See, I'm super far behind. I just couldn't get into it. I think it's one of those things where for me it's never really been my particular genre. I get my fill from the stuff from when I first started watching shonen anime, and I don't think I've liked the shonen anime like since 2012 or something. Like it's just never been my thing in general, but I don't know, like the only characters that I like to see on screen in My Hero Academia are like Bakugo and Denki sometimes. Denki doesn't really do much in season 1 though.
I'm still a little sad for Bakugo because I feel like he's had some character development, but then they just revert back for him, and like his character like regresses. And
he's not allowed. He's not allowed to progress. Like
I hate that they don't give him any character development past, hey, F you, I want to kill you.
Well, he's like, okay, so to me, I thought Bakugo was like the secret main character. I thought it was going to be like told through Deku's eyes about the actual character growth of Bakugo, because in the beginning Bakugo has actual character development and Deku kind of doesn't. Deku's just kind of like, oh, I have the natural development of like some quirkless guy who now has a fucking badass quirk and has found himself, you know, in the middle of a school full of people who have been practicing their quirks for a long time. Whereas Bakugo is the shit his whole life. He's the best at fucking everything his whole life. He is the big fish in a small pond. And now he's going to the big academy. And like, for me, I see it as it's very similar to academic sports. Anyone who played sports as a kid and was on their little all-star team as a little leaguer and then started to play sports in high school, you're now playing with every fucking all-star little leaguer. And then you go to college, you're going to people who are picked as the best of the best from high school. And like, so for Bakugo, he finally gets to a place where like, here's Todoroki, here's Momo, here's people who have, you know, lineage fucking quirks like Ida. So these are all people who have had the best fucking quirk in their small pond, and now he's got to deal with the fact that, like, he has real challenges. Deku's just a dipshit who was given power. Like, why the fuck am I supposed to care about characters other than Bakugo? Bakugo's the one who has actual grief and development that he has to work through. He has actual character flaws that he can come around on. If Todoroki's, like, a good guy, and the show is about good guys, he's done. He's fine. He's not, like, I don't need to pay any attention to him. You know, I don't know. That was my take. It was only one season. I didn't get, like, hooked on it. It is what it is, you know?
I could sit and probably talk about the anime and everything for the entire night, but I am going to go and start getting myself to head out here soon because I got to get both of these girls to bed, and I also need to fall asleep myself. That way I can get up in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours to go to work.
The super multitasker. Well, thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for showing me this deck list. I do, like I said, I like a lot of the buttons it's pressing. It's got a lot going on, but you know, at 73 cards, it could be 4 cards shorter for a really funny deck number. And then we just gotta find a character cooler than Todoroki, and I think I'm on board.
That's fair. Like I said, it's been my most fun deck to play at the moment. So if anybody plays the deck and has any success with it or wants to talk cards, please find me on Discord. I'm in like all of them. I'm in TAMS, I'm in the main one and everything. Shoot me messages. I talk cards all the time and I love it, and I don't get enough of it.
All right, man. I'm gonna let you go. Thanks again. I can see you got a bunch of stuff going on. You got your baby falling asleep right there, so.
Yeah, she's had her milk, so she's happy for sure.
All right. Well, I'm gonna talk to you later. I will see you around, my man. Thanks again.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right. Peace. All right. Well.